Welcome to the Iron Self podcast, where we jump into health, fitness, mindset, and becoming the best version of yourself. Today with your hosts, Mike and Kayla Minion. Hey guys, welcome back to the Iron Self podcast.
In today's episode, we are here to talk to you guys about the difference between fat loss and
weight loss. So let's just get jumping right into this episode. What I want to start with is really what we found. We were doing some research online, the top 10 reasons why people want to lose weight to begin with. And then we'll kind of jump into what's the difference between fat loss and weight loss and how do we measure that and all those kinds of things.
These were actually really surprising. When I looked at them, in my mind anyways, it would almost be a 180 degree flip from where the actual stats show. But Kayla's going to ramble through these for you guys because we got them written down.
Yeah, mine would have been reversed too. Yeah. So you guys, I want you to listen or watch, I guess, and let me know what you guys think in relation. Would you have flipped these in the other direction? Mm-hmm. So the number one reason 95% of people reported for wanting to lose weight was for their family. Okay.
Makes sense.
That makes sense.
Stick around for the family.
Yeah. I want to be here for my family. You know, like grandchildren, all those things. Longevity, right? Number two, 85% of people reported that they wanted to lose weight to help their professional life. Which, I could see that. Like, if you feel better and you have more energy and all of those things.
Yeah. Confidence comes with how you feel about yourself. So if you are feeling more confident, sure, that can help in your professional life. It bolsters that confidence.
Right. Number three, 74% of people reported improved health and preventing of disease for why they wanted to lose weight. Which I think is a really great reason in general.
That is a top three reason.
And I like seeing it in the top three.
Yep.
Number four, 71% of people reported to improve their social life or avoid any discrimination. And this is almost like, I guess I kind of feel like sad about it. Yeah. Because I'm like, why would losing weight improve your social life or prevent discrimination? And I had to do some deep searching because I would never judge anybody based on their size or anything like that. And I guess I'm just taken aback a little bit that like people would feel that they can't have the same social life or that people would discriminate against them based on how much fat they're carrying around. And that's unfortunate that is literally a thought that people are having, or even maybe something that they're experiencing. So if you are out there and you're experiencing this, I'm truly, truly sorry that is happening to you, or that you feel that way. Number 5, 40%, so this was 46% of people. So we just jumped from 71% of people reporting all of the top 4 reasons. Now we're down to 46% in the top 5.
Less than half.
Or less than half now of people are saying that they want to lose weight because it's recommended by a health professional. And this is something that we're going to talk about, fat loss versus weight loss, in this episode today, because a lot of health professionals will just, like your doctor might just say to you, you need to go lose some weight.
Gotta lose weight.
Right? And we're talking about scale weight. So we'll jump into that. Number 6, 40% of people said that they want to lose weight for their spouse. Oh, this grinds my gears.
Do it for you, people.
Do it for you, because at the end of the day, people that lose weight for other people or other people's benefit, it doesn't sit right and it doesn't usually last long.
Another fun fact I'm just going to throw out there as Kayla's talking about this. Within the first 2 years after weight loss, 50% of people gain 50% of the weight back. And within the first 3 years, most people, they said 80% of people, gain 75% of their weight back.
Well, okay, so that's the Biggest Loser effect. So if you've ever watched the show Biggest Loser on television, or heard about it, they actually did studies and they followed a lot of these people after they were on the Biggest Loser show, and they proved within 5 years, most of those people had regained all, if not more, of the weight that they had taken off. And so we talk about our body being the most efficient machine possible. If that's the case, your body always wants to be 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds heavier than whatever its heaviest state is, because then it can prevent that from happening again.
Well, and again, the shows like The Biggest Loser, it isn't sustainable. The way they do the weight loss is we're going to call it extreme, right? It is on the far end of what normal would be considered. So when you do extreme weight loss, the reality is that it isn't sustainable. You're not learning the ways to keep the weight off. You're not learning any of the sustainable habits, and you're pushing yourself in this program, this Biggest Loser program, as hard as you can for whatever that period of time is. And then once you're done, it's kind of like, figure it out. Yeah. Right? So this is where a lot of people get left in the lurch with something like that. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Number 7, 38% of people reported that they wanted to lose weight to improve their appearance. I mean, that makes sense. You know, when we feel that we look the way we want ourselves to look, we usually enter in with more confidence. Number 8, 35% of people say they want to lose weight to improve their self-esteem. And I think that comes with the way that you feel about yourself, your self-worth, your self-value. And so when you feel better about yourself, of course, you're going to have better self-esteem. Number 9, 32% of people reported that they wanted to lose weight to improve their physical fitness. Which once we're starting to get in like the 30% range, it really feels like it's not all that important. Like, I 30% want to go outside in the rain.
When you look at your weather app, okay, first thing in the morning, you're looking at your weather app. If it says there's a 30% chance rain, probably not going to rain. 30% chance of you wanting to change for the fact that you want to improve your physical fitness, probably not going to happen.
Right? And then we jump down to our lowest number, number 10, being 28% of people reported that they wanted to lose weight to improve their overall well-being.
That should be number 1 for me.
Like that's what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, maybe I'm in the 28%. Like, I want to improve my overall well-being. That's usually it. I want to feel better. I want to move better. I want to, yeah. So...
some pretty surprising stats there, right? Like I said, for me, I would almost take that entire list and turn it on its head. There's like improving your well-being, improving your physical fitness, boosting your self-esteem. Those should be top 3, top 4 for me right there. Right? The only one that's in the top that I feel should be there is improving your health and preventing disease, because that is at the very base level of exercise and fitness. You want to improve your health and fitness.
Yeah, I would totally get rid of doing it for family or for your spouse.
I love my family.
Professional.
I love you guys, but this is me. This is for me.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so let's dive into the difference between fat loss and weight loss. So when we are looking at weight loss means everything we could lose.
The scale weight, specifically.
So when we are looking at just physical weight loss, we are talking about muscle, we are talking about water, we are talking about fat, we are talking about connective tissue. We're talking about everything that you could lose. Yeah, a good shit, right? So weight loss is literally everything.
So can I give an analogy for this? If you take a piece of fruit, say you take a peach and you put it in a dehydrator and you remove all of the water from that peach is going to change the amount that it weighs, and it's going to change the way it looks, but it's no longer going to look like a peach, if that makes sense. So it's changing the physical scale weight, but it still tastes like a peach.
Okay.
I want to give the analogy, the idea is that if you remove the water, you're going to physically change the way that the scale shows that.
Yes.
Really what it is. Boiled down.
It's a weird analogy, but okay. I will take it. Because you know what? The peach is actually the exact same amount of calories. It's just lost the liquid, so that to me isn't the exact... Anyways, it's all good. So then fat loss specifically means that we are not going to be burning the muscle off. We are not going to be losing the water weight, so to speak. We are specifically targeting and losing the fat. So different ways to achieve both of these, right? In either fat loss or weight loss, both of these options, if we are losing, we need to be in a
calorie deficit,
right? The difference between weight loss and fat loss really comes to how steep that calorie deficit is and what our activity levels look like. Because as we've spoken to you guys so many times, and as Kayla and I always talk about, lean mass burns more calories. So the more muscle mass that we have, we actually burn more calories at rest. So as we gain muscle, we lose fat. We're not going to lose specific weight. Sure, it might show some scale weight coming off, but the reality is that if we are gaining muscle, chances are we are losing fat specifically.
Yeah, and weight loss isn't going to change your body shape. So that's something that I want you guys to understand, is that when you physically lose weight, your pants might fit differently.
You will get a little bit slimmer, but you're not going to get more toned. You won't show more muscular definition, things like that, because you don't have the muscle base to back that up.
Yeah. So, like, a lot of people, they'll come to us and they say, I want to look more toned. Part of looking more toned is having the tone to be able to show. So if you want to look more toned, you can't be in a calorie deficit because you need to build the muscle first in order to take the fat off to see the tone. You can't take the fat off and hope for tone if you don't have it there.
There is body recomposition,
Yes.
which means that we are eating in a slight calorie deficit and we are working out to create more muscle fiber.
Well, you can gain muscle and lose fat at the same time.
Yes.
That is a totally doable thing. And that is really what recomposition is. That is what fat loss can be. Okay? Weight loss, we are so concerned with the scale and physically seeing that scale change. So how do you know if you are losing fat or you're losing weight? One of the biggest things to think about is having pictures. Before and after photos show huge. Circumference measurements. So, measuring yourself. Skin fold calipers will show that. Versus just a scale. So, or how your clothes fit. That's another great way to say, hey, I lost like all these inches. I mean, I had a client yesterday, lost 10 inches. She's like, yeah, my clothes fit slightly different. Like, that's huge. She lost 2% body fat in like 6 weeks. Like, that's huge. So when we start to think about these, I want fat loss. If I put myself too deep into a calorie deficit, I'm going to create weight loss. Right? And weight loss is really something that it can't be done without losing water weight. You have to lose water weight, right? Whereas fat loss happens when the fat cells shrink. So you were born with a certain amount of fat cells. You can increase the amount of fat cells you have, but you can't decrease them unless you do liposuction.
Yeah. The only way you can reduce them is technically reducing the size of them.
Yes, so they shrink. And this is often, like, your amount of fat cells are determined by your genetics and your gender. Also, some of it has to do with how your mom ate in utero.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, it's your mom's fault. Now you have somebody to blame it on. But when we look at fat loss or weight loss, when we see the loss on a physical scale, it could be muscle, bone mass, poop, food volume. I mean, I'll give you our example of poop and food volume. Mike and I were camping for 4 days. We ate really good, but I will say we had lots of sodium. And our bodies didn't really love the less...
Our bodies didn't know what to do with it because our bodies are not used to a high sodium diet, is what she's trying to say.
Well, we also didn't drink enough water. Like, we were very conservative with giving the kids more water and making sure that happened. So I would say we were fairly dehydrated. I came home and I stepped on the scale and I was up 5.5, almost 6 pounds.
Me too.
And a little bit of rest, lots more water and hydrating, and pooping. Because I was a little constipated, I'll be honest. And I'm back down 6 pounds today. So, I mean, can you gain and lose weight within 1 day? 100%. And that's where, like, scale weight isn't my favorite indicator because it can fluctuate. They say within 5 pounds is usual, but I mean, in my case, I was super constipated and had lots of sodium and all those things. So I lost almost 6 pounds in a day. Like, I didn't do anything extra. I mean, if anything, I rested more.
Everybody has heard me say this. Every single person that has trained with me or knows me, I always say it. 5 pounds is a good shit. Like this is literally for everybody. This is why when those scale weight fluctuations happen and people freak out and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I'm up 4 pounds." I'm like, 4 pounds is a good shit. When's the last time you had one? They're like, "Oh, it's been 2 days," and I'm like, "There you go. That'll come out and you'll be good." And it's so true though, right? So this is that fat loss versus weight loss because fat loss is that sustainable loss, right? It's not like water weight or like your fecal matter where it's going to come up and down and ebb and flow. Fat loss isn't linear. I'm not saying that by any means, but once we work for the fat loss, it takes eating back in that surplus to start gaining that back. So as long as we are smart with our diets, smart with our exercise and our movement, fat loss is sustainable. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy because, again, like Kayla said at the start of this, your body always wants to go to the biggest it's ever been and then some because our bodies love to feel safe. So the bigger we are, the safer we feel. As we start to lean out, like Kayla and I are in competition prep right now. I mean, look, we're tiny, right? I'm tiny. I'm the smallest I've ever been. But the reality is that my body, our bodies are fighting against that. They're saying, hey, you're getting really skinny. What is this? Is this like a famine? Are we worried for survival? Because in our brain, we're still back in the days where famines were a common thing, right? Our bodies haven't adjusted to this. Our brains haven't adapted to the fact that we are safe these days, for the most part. So our body always wants to be the biggest it can be. So knowing that means that if you are looking for fat loss, if you are looking for sustainable fat loss, it means you will be working for it.
If you're ready to make a change in your life, step into the best version of you, check out our Iron Self Transformation Program. Find more info on our website, www.ironbodycoach.com. Yeah, and weight loss can happen without fat loss. So many people put this emphasis on the scale, and they step on the scale, and they're looking for that scale number to change. Oh, it changed, I'm down a pound. Just because you're down a pound does not mean you just lost a pound of fat. Just because you're down 5 pounds does not mean you lost any fat at all, right? Water fluctuations are huge. You see this a lot of the time when people start going on a lower carbohydrate diet, they'll lose 5 to 10 pounds. And if that's the case, a lot of the time, that initial loss is water loss because your fat cells are not just storing fat, they store water, they store electrolytes. Like there's a lot more things that are being stored within this fat cell. So when I burn that fat cell, it can now... I'm going to release that water, right? I'm going to release any of those other toxins that kind of come with this. The other thing to note is that females, your weight will fluctuate during your menstrual cycle. What? That's so weird. Did you know that it's super common to hold more weight during ovulation? So
your body wants to be safe. Again,
right.
If your body is getting ready to create a baby, whether or not you're planning on getting pregnant, doesn't fucking matter.
It's not your choice.
Right? Your body doesn't give a shit either way. Your body is saying, hey, we have the ability to have a baby right now, so I need to put on some extra weight to protect this potential fetus, whether you're having a baby or not. So your body, for females, especially during that ovulation, during your cycle, your body will try and store everything.
Your weight will also be the lowest weight the day after your period ends. So the day after your period ends, and then within about 10 days or so, all of a sudden your weight will spike. Right? So when we are looking at weight, the best way to take a weight would be to take your weight either every day for the course of a week and divide it by 7 and get an average.
It's my favorite way to do it.
Or to look at your, to chart or graph your weight and look at it over the course of a month. Is it slowly declining? I mean, if you're looking at it on a day-to-day, that's such a micro level that it will fluctuate so much, but over the course of a month or 2 months.
Over the course of a month, you should see, you'll have a couple highs and lows, but if you're looking for fat loss, you should see it patterning down, right? That's the whole idea behind it. Now, one big thing that I like to say to a lot of people when they're looking at fat loss and weight loss, because the reality is most people want fat loss. Maybe they don't know that because they don't know the intricacies as well as Kayla and I do. But when people tell me, I want to lose weight, what I hear every time is, I want to lose fat. So the most effective way for me, in my thinking, for anybody else to lose weight is actually to attain more muscle mass. Because the more muscle we have, the more metabolically active that tissue is, which means we are burning more calories at rest, which means overall your calorie deficit for the entire day, for the entire week, is going to be higher because your body is burning more calories as you're gaining more muscle. So for everybody out there that is on a fat loss journey that wants to lose weight, fuck that, get strong as shit.
So to add on to Mike's having more muscle, you're going to burn more calories at rest. Your basal metabolic rate, so your baseline amount of calories that your body needs to survive,
just to sustain life,
burns 70% of your calories. So the other 30% is really for everything else that needs to be done. Yeah, so your movement, your non-exercise activity, your thought processes, all of these other things.
How much calories you burn just eating food.
Right.
thermic effect of food, right? Like,
So muscle has a huge impact on your basal metabolic rate. And your basal metabolic rate is one of the indicators that we use to determine how many calories you get. If you put yourself too deep into a calorie deficit, you'll create weight loss, but you'll plateau, or your body will fight you. And that's where we get metabolic adaptation. If you want to learn more about metabolic adaptation, stay tuned for our next episode.
but this is true, right? So this is why we wanted to give you guys this episode, because again, there are so many people that focus on, I just want fat loss, or I just want weight loss, but they don't actually know what they're trying to say here. Because if you had the option of losing fat or losing weight, which is muscle and everything included, which do you want to lose? Well, you want to lose the fat, because the fat is where you start to see your health markers decline. This is where we start to see more, not disease, but more dis-ease in our body. This is where we start to see issues come up with your digestion, maybe, where we start to see issues coming up with your, I don't know, it could be lots of things. It could be your breathing rate, your heart rate. Like, there's so much that goes into obesity and fat loss specifically. So to get away from the idea of fat loss, because again, it becomes this myopic topic where everybody wants to just lose fat. I gotta lose weight. I'm just trying to lose everything. Look at it from the other side. Why not just get strong as hell, right? Mm-hmm. The more strength we have, the more usable muscle we have in our body, the more our body is able to do tasks, the more resilient we are overall. So why wouldn't we want to build that resiliency instead of just eating in such a low calorie deficit that you have no energy, you feel weak, you feel lethargic. You feel lethargic all the time, right? What kind of a life is that to live when you have the option of becoming strong and muscular and being able to do absolutely everything?
Well, and it's huge. I mean, like, the big thing for me is, like, I work out and I do that, one, for my mental health, and two, to not be in chronic pain. And one of the biggest things I hear from clients within the first couple of weeks when they start lifting weights with us is, I'm not experiencing the same pain. I don't need to go to the physiotherapist or the chiropractor as often. I am not taking my antidepressants. I'm not taking my anti-anxiety medication. I'm not taking pain medication anymore because all of a sudden I'm not experiencing these pains. And a lot of that comes from just simply moving your body. But when we talk about, like, the words that you use, especially around fat loss and weight loss and our weight, it's huge. I was teaching a group of kids yesterday, and this one kid said, well, at the end of the whole session, he says to me, he goes, well, I'm still fat, so you didn't do your job. And I looked at him and I was like, because he's in grade 4, and I said, wow, you know that words have such huge power. Do you think that that's a kind way to speak to yourself? And he goes, well, it's true, isn't it? I was like, no, I don't think it is true. Because to have fat or to be fat are two different things. I have fat. Every person has fat. But you are not fat. Okay? Fat is on your body. It's like, I have water. Yes, that's true.
I am water.
I am not water. You know, so starting to use words that empower you, right? And I had a whole conversation with this kid, and I said, you know, when we speak to ourselves kindly, that's where we can really start to grow ourselves. To have fat is no different than anybody else. Everybody has fat. So starting to look at it as we all have fat, but we are on this journey to improve our health and those health markers. So being kind to yourself. You wouldn't say to somebody else, wow, you're so fat. You would say, hey, you know, looks like, you know, we could do some activity together, or whatever that might be to help us lose fat, but not to use the terminology as I am fat. Does that make sense?
A great way to think of it. Anybody that has excess fat that they want to get rid of, think of it more as fuel. Think about the fat that you have on your body is actually going to be fuel to create the body that you want, right?
Okay, so I just gotta, like, add this in. So one year for Halloween, Mike and I went as white trash for Halloween, and we stuffed Mike's shirt, and it was like super stained wife beater, and on it we wrote,
this is not a beer belly.
It's a fuel tank for a love machine. Anyways, super funny. So that just goes into it is fuel. But one thing that I wanted to touch on with you guys around fat specifically is the difference between like visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. Because when we look at people, if you have a rock hard abdomen and you look larger, but the abdomen is hard, you can't pinch the fat, that is your visceral fat. And visceral fat is very metabolically active, meaning it's easier to store fat. You're at risk for so many other health concerns, at risk for insulin sensitivity. Like there's just so many other health markers that go into this. So if you're looking to lose some fat, I would always recommend to start on a fat loss journey, especially if you've got lots of visceral fat, because that's going to help improve your health markers overall to begin with. Once that visceral fat starts to melt, you'll get more of that subcutaneous fat, the pinchable fat. The pinchable fat, as much as we don't always like how it looks and feels, is actually better for you overall in your health. So try to kind of think about it is it's okay to have some pinchable fat. We all have pinchable fat, and there's a difference between pinchable fat and pinchable skin, right? So that's where the skin fold calipers come in. But really starting to think, if we have fat that we want to get rid of, the main fat that you really want to target is going to be that visceral fat. Not that you can target one specific area and lose weight from one specific area, but it's just something to think about is if you have more visceral fat.
Yeah.
Maybe a fat loss journey is a good thing for you.
There's a reason why visceral fat is called like the heart attack stomach for guys, right? Like it's very well known that when we have that much visceral fat, that's literally just like hard packed fat that surrounds our organs. It is not a good health marker to have. So we can definitely work on that through diet and movement.
Yeah. So when it comes to a fat loss journey, we don't want to be in a crazy calorie deficit. We do want to be in a calorie deficit, but not a crazy deficit, so that we have room to go to, because we will end up with some metabolic adaptation. Then you also want to make sure that you're doing a fair amount of strength training, so that we are saying to the body, hey, I'm using these muscles, please keep them around. And then we also want to add in some cardio activity. Now, for cardio activity, we are only burning calories while we are doing that cardio activity versus burning calories long after. And our body adapts really quickly to the cardio activity that you're asking it to do. So if you were asking your body to do, 3 to 4 30-minute sessions per week, you might notice that you get results right away, and then all of a sudden you plateau, and that might mean that you need to increase that fairly significantly and fairly quickly through the process, because your body will adapt to it. But when it comes to weight loss, a lot of the time it's like go big, go home, go hard, go fast, and it's like drop the calories super low, increase the exercise, your sleep quality goes down, your mood goes down, your energy goes down. Like there's so many things that come into this. So what I want to kind of say to you guys is a fat loss journey should feel easier than a weight loss journey. It should feel doable. You should have the energy that you need because you're getting that from your body. That fuel is coming from your body. But you have to be very honest with the foods that you're consuming and the movements that you're doing. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about is that we have this ability that we are constantly looking for ways to make ourselves feel guilty and shameful, especially around our weight. We might create a marker that's like, oh, I didn't eat perfect. Insert guilt or shame around that. So when we think about our weight and our weight loss or fat loss journey, trying to think about all of the things that are going right, focusing on the good, what is working for you, because the more you focus on that guilt and shame, they've actually been able to show that it causes a stress response in the body and causes your body to want to retain whatever it can, because your body goes into that fight or flight response. Man, it's like a tongue twister. So when we are really kind of getting up each day, really taking a step forward to become your best self, to focus on that best self, that 1% better, that what can I do today to just show up for myself a little bit better, and letting go of any amount of guilt or shame. You don't need to make up lost workouts. You can't do 10 workouts because you missed them all. That's not going to make anything up. You just get up and start fresh again. Like, it's like people that overconsume one night and they have like a binge or something, and then they punish themselves for the next couple days.
Starve themselves the next few days.
Like you had your binge, maybe the energy got used up in your non-exercise activity. Maybe that's where that extra calories went to. Or maybe it did get stored as fat. But you can't keep making it up in the days and weeks to come because you put your body into that stress response. So pick up the next day and start fresh. That's really what it's about, is like release that guilt and shame and start fresh the next day. Get right back on track with your plan.
Now, fat loss versus weight loss, when we're looking strictly at your food, the diet that goes with it, fat loss is going to be whole food focused. You're going to be able to eat absolutely everything, but it's going to be the whole foods. You're not eating the prepackaged garbage. You're not eating as much of the processed food. Now, weight loss eating looks different. These are where you see those strict diets, whether it's keto or low carb or whatever it is, but it's a very strict, rigid diet.
The isogenic shakes.
Whatever it is, but that is a weight loss diet. You're not focusing on whole foods. You're not focusing on the quality of the nutrients you're getting. You're just focusing on eating less overall, right? This is the Bernstein diet. This is every diet that keeps you under or around 1,000 calories. Is absolutely insane. So fat loss versus weight loss. Fat loss is way better, way healthier for you. You get to eat whole foods. You get to move your body and exercise more. Weight loss, you just kind of starve yourself, and the exercise and the activity level does not come up, so it actually down-regulates your metabolism.
Now, I will say your fat loss might take a little bit longer than your weight loss, depending on your body, depending where your metabolism is at.
But it's sustainable.
But it's sustainable, and it's more enjoyable. I mean, it didn't take you overnight to put on the weight, so it's not going to take overnight to take it off. So starting with whole foods, learning how to nourish your body and fuel your body, changing your taste buds so that they are adapted to the more whole foods, so that you crave whole foods and that you maybe aren't consuming those highly palatable processed foods on a regular basis. And that's going to help you long term, because those highly palatable foods make you want to consume more of them. I mean, look at MSG. MSG is in so many things, monosodium glutamate, right? It's in things to preserve your foods, but it also was used to induce obesity in lab rats, because the lab rats would want to eat the food that had more MSG on it. So
addictive.
They put MSG on your French fries, on your potato chips, on, like, you start looking at packaging and you will realize
monosodium glutamate's on everything.
It's in everything. So when you have these highly palatable foods, of course you can't eat one Dorito. Are you crazy? They made it in a lab so that you couldn't eat just one.
Mark Messier had it right all along. Bet you can't eat just one.
Yeah, what? I was going to say, what?
Lay's.
Was that Lay's? Okay. Yeah.
It's Mark Messier back in the day. Come on.
Well, I remember the commercial. I was just wondering what that slogan was from, but I thought it was like Pringles or something.
Nope.
No? Okay. Well, anyways.
Once you pop, you can't stop. It's Pringles.
There you go. Mike knows all the slogans.
I got useless knowledge right here, people.
So when we want to what we want to give you guys today is essentially, for fat loss, you really want to target being in less of a calorie deficit, eating more whole foods, moving your body on a regular basis, making it not feel so freaking hard, and releasing that guilt and shame that we often attribute with a health journey, whether that be not doing our workouts or not necessarily eating 100%.
Learning not to beat ourselves up, right?
Right, that's exactly it, right? And then really focusing on that fat loss. So take those before and after photos, get the skin fold calipers out, starting to document your journey from now, 6 weeks from now, do another 6 weeks, or every month, or whatever it is that works for you. But you look at the timeline, and over time, you'll notice that fat loss is coming off. It is progressive, but it's ridiculous to think that I can lose 60 pounds that it took me, 3 years to put on in 2 months. You can lose that weight. But like Mike already gave you with the stats, those people that lose all of that weight initially are more likely to regain it. So, and I'll give you the example. My mom went on the Bernstein diet. She lost a ton of weight. I think it was like 80 or 100 pounds in like 2 or 3 months. Her skin elasticity didn't have the time to keep up with it. And so she was noticing she was getting some sagging in her skin because she lost too much weight too fast. And then what happened was it wasn't sustainable, and her body started to regain that weight. So it's getting your metabolism working for you, coaxing your body into fat loss, and trying to teach your body that it's okay and that it's safe. And those are the big things to help us on this fat loss journey, and that fat loss is far more important for your overall look, your overall composition, your overall well-being and health markers than any amount of weight loss to date. So I want to give you guys the idea that right now I'm 133.8 pounds, okay? I hired a coach to help us through this prep because I wanted to see if there was other things that could be done. I hired him 2 months ago, okay? I was 133.8 pounds 2 months ago. Now I'm 2 months later, I weigh exactly the same, but my body composition is different, right? Some of it his advice, some of it my own advice, some of it a little bit of mingle, like workout, cardio, those kinds of things, food choices. And being consistent overall. But my weight hasn't changed, but my look has. So I just want to give you guys that caveat that just because the scale isn't changing does not mean that your body composition isn't changing.
Perfect.
I hope you guys learned something in today's episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Share it with a friend or a family member. And make sure you let us know what order on those top 10 that you would have liked to have seen those stats in.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, take care. Bye for now.
Have an awesome rest of your day, guys.